What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 24 here on the 52 Horrific Weeks 1988 series. I am your host, Moon616, and thank you once again for dropping in. Alrighty, guys, week 24. So the remaining films went into that randomizer, hit that random button, and we've got Faceless, a later Jess Franco film. This is one that, you hear some people talk about. In my opinion, I think it's a little more overlooked for some reason. I always say it's a later 80s film by Jess Franco, and I think most of his work that is more notable is his earlier work, but I always figure that this one's a little overlooked, but yeah, so I was super stoked to see this one come up on the randomizer. Haven't checked it out in a while, so pretty cool stuff. But yeah, getting into the plot of this one. So in the beginning of the film, you have this, it follows your lead doctor in the film, Dr. Frank Flamand. Dr. Frank Flamand. There's like an attempt on his life right at the beginning of the film. Basically, what happens is this female comes up to him and she tries to throw acid into his face. Ultimately, he kind of sidesteps it, and what happens is the acid actually hits his sister's face and burns like her entire face off. And apparently the reason why this female did that to him is because he's like a face surgeon. He does faceless and stuff, and she's claiming that he's responsible for fucking up her face and stuff like that. So she tried to fuck him up. But anyways, so now his sister's face is completely destroyed, and she was like a beautiful woman before. So now he's made it like his lifetime goal to, basically repair her face, and he's tried multiple things. And everything he's tried has failed. So basically, he's gotten real drastic with his measures, and ultimately he starts kidnapping women with the help of his lover, played by the porn star. What's her face? I always forget her name. Bridget Leahy, whatever her name is. Anyways, his lover in the film, and with her help, they start kidnapping women, and kind of, locking them down in like this secluded clinic and stuff. And they're basically they're in this clinic in preparation to have, their face lifted and stuff. And hopefully, their face will be, his sister's new face and stuff like that. But every time he tries to do these facelifts and stuff on all these beautiful women, he keeps failing and fucking up and stuff. And so he ends up just kind of throwing out these women and killing them, which they have like he's almost like a retarded mongrel working in the basement. He just does all the dirty work for him. So once a facelift goes wrong and a body needs to be disposed of, they throw the female down in the basement, and this dude takes care of it. It's pretty fucking sadistic, but anyways, so they, he's cannot find, or he cannot do this thing properly. He can't do this faceless properly. But anyways, they actually end up kidnapping a beautiful woman played by Carolyn Monroe, and that's kind of their downfall, because what they don't really know is that her father's really, really rich, and he sends out some investigators to go and find the body, or find her in France. So now it's basically like this police investigation trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with the disappearance of his daughter and stuff like that. Yeah, so he keeps continuing to try and do these facelifts and stuff. Again, not succeeding at all. So then he gets real crazy with his measures, and he calls in this old fucking ex-Nazi. He did a whole pile of experiments and stuff, apparently in Auschwitz and stuff back in the 40s. And so he calls in this guy because he's apparently like a big expert and stuff to start doing these facelifts for him to, reconstruct his sister's face and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, that's going to be the essential plot of the film right there. Now, my thoughts on this one. This movie is basically kind of a remake of Jess Franco's The Awful Dr. Orloff. It's got a very similar plot to it. It's very similar to Eyes Without a Face, too, in the sense of, repairing a face and that kind of stuff. I think this is a very overlooked film by Jess Franco. obviously, like I said, it's kind of like a remake of the awful Dr. Orloff. But you know, the cool thing about this film is that, you know, this is from the later '80s, so they could do a lot more with the gore and just being a lot more sadistic in the film. It's actually pretty brutal at times. You know, some of the effects and stuff they're kind of goofy now, but you know, it's really fun. But the overall feel of this film it's pretty cool, man. It's very Italian feeling. You know, it's got, you know, some story and stuff is set in New York and stuff with Carolyn Monroe's father and stuff, and but the whole film is supposedly taking place in France, which is pretty interesting. The other interesting fact about this film is that it's actually dubbed in English. It's not in you know, Italian or French or whatever, and you know, a different language with English subtitles. It's actually dubbed over. You know, I've seen worse dubbing before, but yeah, it's not overly that bad. But you know, some of the characters in this film are absolutely fucking outrageous. Some of the acting is just fucking terrible. There's one notable fucking hilarious fight scene in this film, like toe-to-toe kind of boxing match. The sound effects remind me of like an old kung fu film. It's just so funny and like kind of out of place. It's just a really, really awkward scene. It's really bizarre. But overall, it's an interesting film. You know, it's a little slower. There's a lot of story, just a lot of kind of build up to, you know, all the facelifts and everything that's kind of going on with that. And I really enjoy it, though. I think it's a fun film. It has like the most '80s feel to the movie too. Like, obviously, you know, filmed in '87, came out in '88, I believe, in France or whatever. But this one has the most '80s soundtrack. There's a couple songs that are kind of replayed throughout the film and whatnot, but it just feels very, very '80s. I love that feel to it. It's awesome. You know, but you know, I do really recommend this film, man. If you're a fan of Jess Franco's older work, I'm sure you'll really dig this. You know, if you're not a fan of Jess Franco's older work, maybe even still check this one out, because it is a lot different. I find this one always kind of sticks out in his catalog because it's a later '80s film, and it's you know, it's got a lot, you know, it's got some pretty decent gore in it, but you know, it's still Jess Franco, though. It's definitely still Jess Franco. It still has a lot of, you know, the essential Jess Franco elements that make up a Franco film, of being gory, simple plot line, and very sleazy. You know, this one's got, like, you know, some girl-on-girl action, you know, with the Dr. Frank's you know, love interest played by Bridget Leigh. She, you know, being the ex-porn star and stuff, you know, she's got some girl-on-girl action in this film. Very Jess Franco, but it's not as sleazy as some of his other films. This one kind of feels more like, almost like a slasher film in a way, but it's totally not, though. Yeah, very, very interesting film. I like the premise. I think it's pretty cool. And it's got a really, really hard, sadistic ending to it, too. I really like the ending. It's fucking awesome. And you can't go wrong with anything with Carolyn Monroe in it, because she's absolutely one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. I think she's just amazing. Yeah, so that's Faceless. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's like I said, some of the effects in the film are not like overly the greatest, but there is some pretty good ones too. Like, I think it's gory for what it is. You know, it's got some pretty decent shit going on there. So, but yeah, Faceless. If I had to rate this one, I would probably give it. I would say I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. You know, it's definitely. It's a decent film. It's not a great film, but it's definitely worth the watch. I'm a pretty decently huge fan of Jess Franco. He's got a lot of films that, you know, aren't the best in the world, but he's got some really good ones, and I think this is one of his better ones, to be honest. But yeah, you know, very interesting cast and stuff. So check out Faceless if you never checked it out. Very cool film. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for week 24 here. I will be back next week with week 25, of course, and I will check you guys then. Peace out.